The morning air was crisp as I set out to visit the Great Wall of China. I had heard countless tales of its grandeur, but nothing could have prepared me for the sheer magnificence that awaited. Stretching endlessly across the rugged mountains, the wall stood like a sleeping dragon, winding its way into the horizon. As I arrived at the Badaling section, one of the most well-preserved and popular spots, the first sight of the wall took my breath away. Built of stone and bricks, its undulating form seemed to rise and fall with the very shape of the mountains, a harmonious blend of human engineering and nature. The climb began. With each step, I felt the weight of history beneath my feet. Centuries ago, soldiers and workers would have walked these same stones, protecting China from invading forces. Their presence lingered in the cool air, as though the wall itself was whispering their stories. Looking out over the vast landscape, I could see why this structure had been so effective in defense. The steep ridges, the sharp drops, and the sweeping valleys made the wall a formidable barrier. It wasn't just a wall, it was a masterpiece of strategy, designed to blend into and dominate the land. As I reached one of the watchtowers, I imagined the guards stationed there, scanning the horizon for signs of approaching enemies. The tower, once a hub of activity, now stood silent, a relic of ancient warfare. Its weathered stone walls told stories of Mongol invasions and fierce battles fought in the shadows of these mountains. Continuing my ascent, I passed several other travelers. Some were lost in the same awe as I was, while others struggled with the steep climb. The uneven steps, some tall and others shallow, made the journey unpredictable, much like the history of the wall itself. The legend of Meng Jiangnu crossed my mind. They say she was a woman whose husband was conscripted to work on the wall. When he died due to the harsh conditions, her sorrow was so immense that her tears caused a section of the wall to collapse. This story gave the wall a human dimension, a reminder of the many lives it had touched. Reaching a higher point, I paused to rest. The view was nothing short of spectacular. The wall snaked away into the distance, disappearing and reappearing along the jagged mountains. It was as if it was alive, breathing with the rhythm of the earth itself. As I continued, I found myself wondering about the countless laborers who had built this marvel. Constructed over many dynasties, from the Qin to the Ming, it required unimaginable effort and sacrifice. Many of these workers never returned home, their lives claimed by the unforgiving terrain and harsh conditions. At one point, I ventured to a more remote, crumbling section of the wall. Here, the stone was rougher, and the vegetation had begun to reclaim parts of the structure. I felt as if I had stepped back in time, walking through a forgotten world where the hands of men and the forces of nature had battled for control. The wind picked up as I reached another watchtower. It howled through the narrow windows, filling the tower with a haunting melody. It felt as if the wall was speaking, not in words, but in the rustle of the wind and the creaking of ancient stone. As the sun began its descent, the wall took on a golden hue. The shadows grew longer, stretching across the landscape like fingers reaching into the past. Standing there, I realized that the Great Wall was more than just a fortification. It was a symbol of perseverance, strength, and endurance. I walked a bit further, reflecting on how the wall had changed over the centuries. Once a military barrier, it now stood as a cultural monument, a place where people from all over the world came to witness its beauty and learn its history. As dusk settled in, I made my way back down. The wall, now bathed in soft twilight, seemed to pulse with the energy of the ages. It had stood witness to emperors, invaders, and countless generations, and yet here it was, still standing, still guarding its secrets. As I left the wall behind, I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of admiration. It was not just a wall of stone and brick. It was a living, breathing part of history, stretching across the centuries and connecting all those who had ever laid eyes on it. The Great Wall of China, in all its glory, had woven its way into my heart.